Let's get into our first topic now. And we're asking, how do you cope when you're caring for a loved one, young or old? Many of us find ourselves caring for the people closest to us. But how do you cope when you're the carer? Who cares for the carer? Who looks after you? Maybe your answer is going to be nobody looks after you, and actually there's no provision at all for supporting you as a carer. We'd love to hear from you about this one, your experiences, your struggles, and of course your questions too. Do give us a call. We're here to listen. The number's 0207 862 2222. Now, people will know about you. Not only are you Eve Pollard OBE, but you're also Lady Lloyd because you married Sir Nicholas Lloyd. Now, I was once invited to a luncheon by him, and it was one of these. I mean, I can't pretend I've really been to many like it, but it was incredibly high-powered. They were all bosses of huge companies and editors of things, and I was just thinking, please don't come to me. Don't come to me. I just don't. Honestly, I just don't know what to say. I've got no view on this. I thought, and then when he finally came to me, I thought I'd just say something funny because honestly, I don't know what to do. But he is an incredibly bright, astute, kind of idea-forming, visionary kind of a person. Yeah. But unfortunately, he's 82 years old and he's really hit the buffers when it comes to a stroke, which has made an enormous difference, not just to him, but to you.
Terrible thing. I mean, I think the last 20 months or so of my life have been the hardest by far. He is a lovely man. We have been married 46 years.
Wow. It's a beautiful photo of you two together, actually, we're just looking at. Yes. Oh, lovely man. 46 years, wow.
We've had a lovely time. I mean, in many ways, I've had a charmed life, an interesting life. But this is really very difficult because, number one, there are lots of wonderful websites. There's Stroke Association, there's the Alzheimer's Society, but nobody knows too much about these illnesses. I mean, they're doing research all the time. I remember asking a doctor, can't Nick have a cheerer-upper? You know, lots of people are walking around Britain taking cheerer-upper tablets.
Yes.
They never offer them to people who possibly need them most because it goes against the medication they're having for other things. And he's forgotten so much. And I still love him, and we're managing, and I have some help. I'm very lucky. And there are these extraordinary organisations, and I think probably in some villages, you're probably better off because everybody knows him. And then, again, he's a man.
Yes.
So luckily, I've got a lot of women friends. In the men's world, they were golfing together or they were going to football together. Now he's ill. One or two have been staunch friends and been brilliant. It's just a different world.
I mean, it can be incredibly isolating, can't it? You're with the person you've loved for 46 years, but they're not the companion they used to be. The jokes
and also
are not
they're
the
not
same.
there for you. You have to make all the decisions.
Yes.
You know, do we want the papers? Doesn't read the papers very much anymore. I mean, this is a man who used to read 5 papers before we left home.
And you say that now you never dreamed that you would sleep in separate beds, but you do.
Yes.
You're up at 7, he doesn't wake up till midday.
Yes.
It can be kind of together, but incredibly lonely.
Hard. And the doctors keep saying to me, I keep saying, very sweetly, people ask me to be on television. I've said no, no, no. And then when you asked me, I thought, look, she's starting something new. She needs support.
I'm really pleased
and I've
you're
been
here.
watched,
Thank you.
and it's really gone from great guns.
Thank you.
But it's very important, they say, to live your life. And it's very hard. And my son, our son, is wonderful, and Claudia's wonderful. But they're very busy, and my stepdaughter does come round. But, you know, he has one son who's in Australia. He has one son who lives in the country who never comes up. It's very hard. And it's just so hard to know where it's going. And the doctor keeps saying, however much you worry, you can't change anything.
Yes. And do you feel that you're in a way kind of losing yourself? Because as a couple, you were forever out. You were always doing something exciting and interesting, having a view.
I think the world has changed, to be fair. I think COVID changed all that because we were out a lot. And I think people are not out so much, perhaps, anymore. But yes, you have lost. You have lost who you were. That amalgam of 2 people that worked together really well for so long, that's gone.
Very, very difficult. Shall we talk to Ellen, who's on the line in Northumberland? Ellen, I believe you cared for your son for nearly 20 years, so you must know exactly what Eve's going through now.
Yes. I've cared for my son for 26 years, yes.
And and did you have support? Did you have people backing you up in this, or did it feel like a lonely path for you?
No, I was on my own.
Did it all really? Gosh. And were you able to ask for help from friends or family, things like that?
I didn't have anybody sort of nearby. My daughter was such a tight-knit, small unit. My daughter did an awful lot to help. Bearing in mind she was a child herself when my son was diagnosed.
Yes.
But she, I don't know, she just seemed to grow up all of a sudden. She just was, yeah, and she really knew how to look. She really knew how to look after him at every stage, and we made him laugh every day because that kept him healthier and kept him a lot longer.
Do you think that people have any understanding really of what it's like to be a carer? Because it's quite relentless, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. Unless you've been there. You don't know.
You don't really know. I appreciate it, Ellen. No. Thank you so much. We're going to be taking more of your calls on what it's like to be the carer. Let's talk about it from the point of view of the carer. How do you cope? Who looks after you? And do you feel lonely and isolated? Do you feel that you're accessing some kind of help? Do you feel that friends just ebb away eventually, however devoted they are? We're going to be joined by Emily Holzhuasen from Carers UK. She's going to be here to answer your questions. Now more on this one. How do you cope when the carer for your loved one is you? 0207 862 2222, that's the number. Do give us a ring. Emily Holzhuasen is here, as I say. Emily, it's incredibly difficult, isn't it? I mean, Eve was saying, they were, a powerful, interested, dynamic couple leading a fantastically stimulating life. And suddenly, her husband's afflicted by a stroke, and now the balance of everything has changed.
Absolutely. And people can see huge changes in their lives. Sometimes it comes overnight, and that can be very, very stressful. And sometimes it sort of gradually comes up on you, and people feel very alone. And yet there are, nearly 6 million people.
6 million?
6 million across the UK.
Caring.
Who are caring.
At this moment.
At this moment. For people with a whole range of conditions.
And tell me about the kind of support that's available to people, because otherwise it's kind of relentless, lonely, rather sad way of living your life, isn't it, in many ways?
Quite often people keep things to themselves. So we would say do share things with friends and family and get help there. You can go to local charities, and local authorities, for example, can give you advice and support. But sometimes care in the home. So we would say look out for information and advice, because there's everything from tech that might help you in the home to different equipment that makes caring easier.
Have you got lots of different equipment in to help? No.
We have. I mean, my doctor did send a note to Westminster, which is where we live.
Yeah.
We haven't heard back about 2 or 3 weeks, but they are inundated. I've got total sympathy. I mean, NHS is inundated and everybody's inundated. And I suppose if I was in a real panic, I'd phone up and cry over the phone.
Yeah.
But I feel other people are in a worse situation in a way. But it's such a difficult disease, illness, whatever you want to call it. You've no idea where it's going to take you next. I suddenly realised the other day that Nick had not read a book for a year.
Wow.
And that's extraordinary.
And can he watch television with you?
No, he likes watching sport.
Right.
And there are certain programmes we enjoy watching, and I make it. In my diary, I have all of Arsenal's games, so that he doesn't miss any. And you just adapt to a different way of living, but it's hard.
And Eve was saying that she was out a lot, she was working a lot, she was constantly busy with something, and you can feel that ebbing away from you as you're more and more isolated with the person you're caring for. And I'm assuming that's a common experience.
It's really common, and people, when you're caring, we hear so often that people put themselves at the back of the queue.
Yeah.
But it's so important for people to try and keep working if they can, and to have breaks when you can. You have to look after yourself.
My doctor gave me a real talking to. He said, this is ridiculous. For over a year, you've done virtually no work. I think I did 2 speeches, which I've been booked to do for a while.
Yeah.
And he said, you can get help, which I have got some help now. And he said, you've got to think of your life you've not had a stroke. You've got to carry on. You're still reading and knowing and talking and gossiping and all the rest of it.
And enjoying, if you have the chance.
And try to.
Yes,
exactly.
quite. All right, we're going to be joined now by Dorothy. Dorothy cares for her husband, Melvin. He has ataxia, which is a condition that affects his coordination, his balance and his speech. And Dorothy, hello, how lovely to see you there.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Vanessa.
Good to see you. You're providing round-the-clock care for Melvin. Just describe what it's like in any 24 hours, your life, Dorothy.
Oh, well, I can totally relate to what Eve is saying. It's all consuming. There isn't a life. I mean, very much like Eve, we were a very dynamic couple. I ran my own business. I had to give it up 7 years ago. And his illness, unlike Eve's husband, his has come on gradually over 15 years, to the point now where he's completely bedbound and is completely and utterly reliant on me to feed him, wash him, dress him. Well, he doesn't get out of bed now. Without me giving 24/7 care, Vanessa, he basically wouldn't still be here. Right. He wouldn't be able to exist. So my life is put on hold. I don't have a life outside of just 24 caring for Melvin.
And how are you doing? Because it just sounds so hard, so lonely, so physically exhausting, in a way terribly concerning, also terribly boring. It just sounds repetitive and worrying, just every bad thing. It doesn't sound, as if you're really sort of gaining anything back except the satisfaction that you're caring for someone that you love. Is that what's getting you through this very, very difficult routine?
It is. All of the above of what you've just said. It is boring. It's very isolating. It's also very, very scary because he's so poorly now. He's so ill. He can't communicate. Yeah. He can't speak. He can hardly eat. He can't do anything for himself. And a lot of times during the night when he becomes seriously unwell, I'm then having to myself, as his carer, make a judgment call on who do I reach out to? Do I get paramedics? Do I get a doctor? Do I get the hospice because he's on end of life? Yeah. And I'm averaging 4 hours sleep a night, and you're having to make these conscious decisions at the same time. It's just totally exhausting.
Is there anything that you can say that could help? Because I'm obviously a very bright person who knows exactly really what she can obtain in terms of support, which is almost nothing.
Well, I mean, I was going to say Dorothy, but Dorothy might answer herself. Yeah. Dorothy can get support from other carers, definitely, and knowing that she's not alone. And I know that Dorothy's also looked for help locally. We have a shortage of care in this country, so it can be challenging sometimes to get the kind of support you need. But you have to tell people that you're a carer. You have to be proactive with your rights and say, I want to be involved in decisions. So there are places you can get support, but it can be tough doing that. It's hard doing that. I mean, you feel the joys of digitalisation are not the joys that you enjoy, because phone, ring somebody, hang on, nobody's going to answer you at certain things. And also, we need this. We need an army of people to help carers. And also psychologically, and I found this very hard, I worry too much about him. I mean, I get night sweats, I worry about him. Yeah. And it's crazy because I cannot change anything. And in fact, the doctors can't change very much. Once you're on this path, you're on this path. And I'm hoping one of the geniuses that AI may happen, because they do things so fast, is to find things that will help people, drugs that will help people in this situation. Yes. We're probably too late for that now, but that will happen in the next 10 years, I would think.
But when you say you worry about him almost too much, how can you not?
How can you not? Of course. It's part of your DNA, isn't it?
Absolutely. Dorothy, thank you. Let's go to Janet, who's on the line in Shropshire. Hello, Janet. Hi there. You say it's financially incredibly expensive, emotionally, massively taking its toll being a carer, and I'm not in the least surprised. What's going on with you?
My husband had his stroke when he was just 42 years old, and he was a carpenter. So losing the use of one arm has been probably the worst thing mentally for him, because that was his trade. He couldn't go on to any other trade. I had to go back to work. I got 2 young children. That was 40 years ago. So he's 74 now. 40, not quite 40 years, 74 now. Yeah. And I've just moved 2 weeks ago out of Shropshire into Banbury, which is against his will. because we needed a bungalow and I needed to be near my daughter.
Right.
And today he's had another meltdown and I've got to cope with that.
Oh dear. I mean, you
And
know,
I'm just,
people
I'm feeling
people are
emotional.
I'm not surprised you're emotional. I really thank you for phoning and being so honest about it. But I mean, people are really at their wits' end, absolutely exhausted, physically run ragged, and you know, not seeing any kind of end or knowing what will happen. When you keep saying, "I don't know," Eva said several times on the show, "I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to work out." I mean, it's this feeling of fear.
Tell you.
No one can say.
That's the other thing.
Yes.
But I can see why she cries, because there's just so much that's needed in this country, and it's such a bad time for many, many reasons. And there aren't phone lines. I mean, look at Esther, who started phone lines for children and all the rest of it.
Silver Line for older people.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But you can't join the Silver Line because you have a problem. I'm not saying that they wouldn't be lovely to you on the phone.
They'd be lovely.
I'm sure they'd be lovely.
But
the lady there who had to say, I don't know who, shall I call the ambulance? Shall I call 999? Shall I call 111? Shall I phone my local doctor? And you'd be very lucky to phone your local doctor in the middle of the night.
Absolutely.
They've got so much on.
I mean, it's a huge burden of worry, isn't it? It's just an enormous kind of feeling of almost potential panic the whole time.
Yeah, and there's, I mean, you know, people like Dorothy become experts over time, but that's where you need to really equip the family with knowledge and help people with information and decision making. So it's not as scary. It still might not change situations like that, but it's so important. And I also wanted to say, when people are finding it really emotionally tough, that some local organisations offer things like counselling and emotional support. And we run we've got an online forum called Carers Connect.
Yes.
And people are connecting in the middle of the night when they're up, supporting each other.
I'm going to phone you.
Excellent. Well, it's online. It's an online forum.
Let's talk to Kathleen. She's in the West Midlands. Kathleen, I was saying, who cares for the carers? And I think your answer is nobody.
Nobody. No, I was born in 1953. My twin brother was born with Down syndrome. Hughie had a good life. He was able to do everything. By the time he became 50, he started to have a stroke. And I had to do everything for him. I had to wash, dress him. I did manage to get a little bit help towards the end, but I had to fight for every bit of the way to get it. I also worked with people with learning disabilities, so I was doing a full-time job, plus having to look after Hughie.
Yes.
And the point is, nobody does. You don't become Kate or Kathleen. You become Hughie's sister or your wife. Nobody sees you in your own right either. And I was lucky because my friend Linda, who's still looking after her brother, we became very good friends. We've been friends for 25 years now, and both of us were in the same situation. As her brother's still alive. Unfortunately, I lost you at 56. And it's carers in this country, especially unpaid carers, that you don't hear, and they are saving these governments, not just this government, governments of the past, thousands and millions of pounds a year.
That's true.
And I heard your lady saying about you can get this information, but at the time when you're actually looking after somebody, there's nobody there really to give you information. It's where in hindsight, there was nobody there, not even, Hughie did manage to have a few hours at a day centre, but, there's just nobody. And in the end, it does get to you because you know that person has to come first and foremost, and you forget about yourself. And, because you have to make sure that person's got a good quality of life.
Well, Kathleen, it sounds as if you did an incredible job for all those years, and it absolutely must have been, exhausting and relentless. And I'm very sorry that you lost your brother in the end. And I appreciate you ringing, but Eve, it's one of these situations that, as you quite rightly say, isn't going to get better. It's not going to be something that they can solve or that they can, So...
And I think probably we live in a big town. We live in the middle of London, so London's wonderful, but probably if you were in a village and up the road and round the corner, everybody knew your husband or your brother or whoever it was, and they did their bit. I think the pace of London, the fact that people moving out of London, the fact that so many people are so busy if they do work here, means it's very difficult.
What would you say to people who were good friends of yours as a couple and have just kind of disappeared or edged out? Because I was saying to you during the break, I did see Sir Nicholas actually out and about because we don't live very far from one another.
Right.
And I wasn't sure what to do, genuinely.
Well,
I thought, gosh, I realised that's Sir Nicholas Lloyd. Should I go and say hello? Should I not say hello?
He'd have been charming. He'd have been lovely. He was probably having a coffee in one of the many coffee shops around us. And that would have been fine. And then he would have said, I saw this blonde girl, you know, and he would try and describe you. And after perhaps 18 goes or 5 goes, we'd have got you. But people's lives now are, it's rather like people work Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of the people who we did know, who were in Fleet Street, they've moved out of London because they've sold their big houses or they've gone to live with their children and grandchildren. Understandable. They're old and they need some help, so it's nice having young people. It's not that they're not kind. 1 or 2 people have been very, very kind to us and very sweet and have seen him, take him out for lunch and all the rest of it. But the vast majority of people, life since COVID really has split people up, you know. A lot of people moved away. And sadly, of course, we're in our 80s, a lot of people have died.
I think some people aren't quite sure what to say and
I think
aren't
that's
quite
true.
sure what to do.
I think that's true.
And don't quite know if he might be embarrassed.
And I
they're
also
not
think
sure.
women make girlfriends
Yes.
who, with a bit of luck, last you for life.
Yeah.
Men play golf, go to football, do all these things with friends. It's not quite the same.
No, they don't have the same kind of friendships and
No.
relationships. Absolutely. Let's talk to Cynthia in Middlesex. And Cynthia is somebody who is being cared for rather than the carer. Hello, Cynthia. How nice to hear from you. How's it going?
It's all right. My daughter is very good. We moved here about 2 years ago, and sadly her husband died. And she has I have a granddaughter who's very good, but she, of course, misses her dad. But my daughter is very good. She could see that I wasn't cooking for myself.
Right.
I couldn't stand. I've got a problem with my back, so I couldn't stand and cook. So we all decided that we would all move in together.
And how's it going? How's it worked?
And it works lovely because
good.
but the sad bit is she lost her husband, my son-in-law. When we come here, he died, and her daughter, who's 18.
Yes. Grieving, obviously, the loss of her dad. I totally get it. But it sounds, Cynthia, as if somehow in your family you found a way to support one another. She's helping you because you can't stand and cook, and she needs to help you with that. And you're obviously helping your granddaughter and your daughter with the terrible grief that they're going through. So though you're being cared for, you're also caring for them at the same time. And that is a fantastic relationship that you're providing the support, the love, the wisdom and the understanding. And that's phenomenal. And I wish you all the luck in the world and all the love. Thank you so much for ringing in. So if you happen to be looking for advice and support, if you're a carer, there are organisations that can help you. Carers UK have an advice line. The number's 0808 808 7777 and the email is advice@carersuk.org. Thank you very much indeed to Emily from Carers UK and thank you for all your calls. Coming up.